Because you're going to have to bring the wolves in along the top of this rock, but you still want...
If you could clone Crocodile Dundee, Indiana Jones, and McCloud into one single character, you'd come pretty close to replicating Brian Rutledge, a cowboy who has taken on the challenge of saving Boston's two zoos from extinction. After reviving Baltimore's troubled zoo, Rutledge had retired to his 110-acre ranch in Colorado when he got the call to Boston.
This looked like an opportunity that couldn't be beat, frankly. Last great city in North America without great zoos. And I'd also been told it couldn't be done. So to me, that's the most exciting part of it. People here need these zoos.
Franklin Park Zoo and Stone Zoo in Stoneham have long been considered among the worst in the nation. Brian Rutledge plans to change all that. His goal is to double the number of species here and present them in large-scale regional habitats, places where visitors can learn more about the animals and how they live. Just 1 year into the job, you can see his vision already taking shape. These days, when visitors come through the front gates at the Franklin Park Zoo, they're greeted by something new. Animals. Where once there were just open lawns, now you can see ibex, zebras, even bongo antelope. It's all part of a dramatic transformation taking place here at Franklin Park Zoo, a change that many hope will make Boston Zoo one of the best in the country.
Just think about having 72 acres of gorgeous land, center city, in a 500-acre park that's wide open to build the top zoo exhibits in the world. Brand new, start from the ground up. It's terrific.
Building success at Franklin Park Zoo will not be easy. Public perception about the location is slow to change, and dollars are hard to find. But Rutledge is undaunted. His 10-year, $120 million plan is already garnering support. The state has doubled its zoo budget. Local corporations are showing interest. And the new $2.5 million lion habitat opened in July is an apparent hit.
It's fun to see people responding so quickly. Hearing the kids scream lion and the king, it's the king as they come up the hill. It's pretty neat. You'd think Elvis was in there or something.
But not to be a pessimist, this has all been tried several times in the past, and it's not worked. What's different now?
It is completely different, and I will argue that it hasn't really been tried. If you're not doing the basics, if you're not presenting clean restrooms, good food, friendly staff, you're not trying. So I would argue it hasn't been tried before, that this is our first real go at it. And people are voting yes. These lions drew over 12,000 people the first weekend we had this exhibit open. The local populace does not agree that this won't work. They've already turned us around.
For Rutledge, a zoo should be much more than just a place to display animals. He envisions urban zoos as educational focal points of the natural world, places to learn about animals, their habitat, and the importance of conservation. In the works in Boston, new exhibits on Mexican gray wolves, giraffes, and Australian kangaroos.
You've got an incredibly dense population of human beings cut off from nature in a large part. A lot of people living in town without a perspective on what is wildlife, what does wildlife need. And the only place that I've ever found a working opportunity to change people's attitudes towards wildlife is in zoos. And this is where you learn about it. This is where you make that first connection with a gorilla. It's where you make your first connection with a bongo. It's where you meet lions. This is where we change the way people view their wildlife. It's our planet to share, not our planet to dominate and destroy.
There he is.
Kubi! What are you doing, big boy? Come on! Come see me, Kubi! Without a great zoo, we're not doing conservation education for the children of that city. It's that simple, that cut and dried. This is a city that prides itself on education, and yet it's left out a vital link on one of the most important parts of any child's education. This is an exciting prospect. It's the best deal going. It's why I decided to come. I knew it could be done. We did it in Baltimore to a zoo that everybody said, oh, just close it down. It's hopeless. You'll never go anywhere with it. It's going. This one's going to go.
As is fitting for someone who's made a career of studying marine life, Jerry Schubel wears a tie dotted with fish. They're swimming the same way, except for one, a tiny rebel at the bottom. To those who know him, Schubel is not unlike that wayward fish. 2.5 years ago, he left a successful academic career to take the helm of the New England Aquarium. His mission? To increase public awareness of and appreciation for the aquatic world.
If we're really going to make a difference and move fast enough, we've got to include all of the stakeholders, society. And universities aren't very good at doing that. And aquariums and zoos ought to be able to do that.
So this is where the public meets science, as you say.
That's right. The aquariums are wonderful interfacial institutions. They exist at the interface of land, water, science, the public, environment, the public, and they reconnect people to nature. And to me, those are the advantages that we have to figure out how to exploit.
Schubel is a scientist with conservation on his mind. Aquatic habitats and species are being destroyed at record rates worldwide, a trend Schubel says could lead to our own peril. Under his leadership, the aquarium is undergoing a major transformation. It is a change Schubel hopes will help make a difference.
We've told the public our major mission is conservation of the world's aquatic environments and the creatures that depend upon them. We want to be judged on that. It's no longer good enough to be judged by the size of the surplus at the end of the year. Because if we want to make money, we can make a lot of money here. But it wouldn't be the kind of an institution I would want to be affiliated with, or that society needs.
There's an old proverb that says, tell me and I'll listen, show me and I'll watch, but get me involved and I'll learn. That is the underlying principle behind the New England Aquarium. The ultimate goal is to create a place that doesn't just display marine animals, but encourages people to learn about them and preserve them.
Perfectly harmless, and this is his mouth here.
Since it first opened in 1969, the New England Aquarium has been an innovator. It was the first aquarium to focus on research and education, and the first to lead whale watches. Today, visitors can see behind the scenes as veterinarians care for aquatic creatures in the Marine Medical Center. And a provocative new exhibit on George's Bank tackles the New England fisheries crisis head-on.
We've got to let people discover the impacts that we're having on the planet. And so I want to see us to have an institution that connects people to the natural environment, using the animals that are here as the ambassadors for their relatives in the wild, and figure out how to use those animals to tell powerful stories.
Exotic creatures from the sea command center stage at the aquarium. Sharks and giant turtles ply the waters of the main tank, and you can touch the starfish in the tide pool exhibit. But for many, including Schubel, the perennial favorites are the penguins. Why do people love penguins so much?
I think it's a variety of things. The way they walk when they're on land, the way they swim, the coloring, the upright posture. They look like they're dressed in formal wear. They make a lot of noise. They get angry. They express their emotions in very visible ways.
The aquarium is growing in size as well as scope. A $70 million expansion will triple the size of the institution by the turn of the century. The new facility will showcase dramatic new naturalistic exhibits, a large format movie theater, and sweeping views of the harbor.
This is our new front door to the city. The ticketing is over here. Behind it, there will be the new outdoor exhibit with the seals and the sea otters. And here on the ground floor will be a gift shop, and up on the top deck, there will be a sit-down restaurant with a great view of the harbor, and then there will be a wonderful new lobby.
Really worth working on.
Miles from the academic world he inhabited for more than 20 years, Jerry Schubel couldn't be happier.
It's been a lot of fun. And I think if any aquarium can create the new model for the next century, it's going to be the New England Aquarium. It's always been an innovator. And now we've decided innovations to the fundamental model are no longer enough. We need a new model, or to use that overworked phrase or word, we need a new paradigm. And we're betting our future on it.
To those who've seen him work, Bernard Margolis is a librarian with a CEO's touch and a coach's ability to motivate those around him. Last March, Margolis took the helm of the Boston Public Library, the oldest publicly supported library in the nation.
The Boston Public Library is the best public library in America. Collection of 6.5 million books, a spectacular staff, a great board, an enormously appreciative and supportive community. I mean, it's sort of the ideal job for someone who's pretty much devoted his life's career to library service.
A native of New England, Margolis came to the BPL via the Pikes Peak Library System in Colorado, where he was named the state's Librarian of the Year. His plan is to make Boston's library even better.
Our citizens deserve the best library. A library today is not just a place where you go to get the latest mystery novel. The library today is a place where you go to get rich, to be enriched spiritually, to be enriched practically, to learn more about the world, about everything, and to be enriched as a result of that experience.
Margolis is overseeing the second half of a $50 million renovation, restoring the library to its 19th century splendor, while equipping it technologically for the next century. The digital age is changing the definition of what a library is. Through computers, Margolis hopes the BPL's patrons will be able to explore much more of the world electronically, while at the same time, more of the world will be able to access the library's own vast collections.
I see library growth really on two tracks. The first one is the library as a dynamic resource available anywhere to anyone, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If you have a computer, we're a dynamic resource that you can access and just open the world of information to you. Invisible, no walls, but available all the time. The other track is the library as a place. It's a retreat from the world, a retreat from the stressful, hectic lives we may lead, where we can sit at a table, sit in a casual chair, open a book, use a computer, and have opened in front of us just an amazing resource.
Intellectual freedom for librarians used to mean refusing to remove art books and controversial classics like Catcher in the Rye from the shelves. But things aren't so simple in these digital times. Cyberspace has some pretty raunchy outposts, so librarians are faced with a new dilemma: how to allow for the free flow of ideas while at the same time protecting children from online pornography.
Boston school children had access to pornographic material at the Boston Public Library. The mayor ordered it stopped.
Bernard Margolis walked into the controversy his first day on the job in Boston. A child had recently pulled up pornography from the internet on one of the library's computers. Many in the community were outraged, including the mayor, who demanded restrictions on the system. But Margolis believes censorship to be antithetical to a library's mission of fostering the free flow of ideas. His solution? Divide the internet into two editions. One, an unfettered free flow of information available to adults. The other, a filtered, controlled edition set up in the library's children's area. Other libraries across the nation have followed his lead.
It's a solution that protects the First Amendment rights of people and at the same time respects the rights and the appropriate responsibility of parents to supervise their kids. It's like having two editions of a book. We may have an unabridged edition and an abridged edition, and we make one available to children and we make the rest available to everyone else.
For Margolis, the BPL is more than a beautiful building, books, and computer links. It's also a museum of sorts, holding priceless treasures from the past, treasures he'd like to open up to the public. There's a letter here written by Christopher Columbus, a medal given to George Washington, an original musical score penned by Mozart.
And your hope would be, Bernie, someday to make this more accessible to people?
Of course. That's what we're here. We're here to be conservators and protectors and guardians of these great cultural resources, but we're also here to do everything we can to be sure that we share them and people can appreciate them. Well, I have a pretty, actually simple goal. I want the Boston Public Library to be the best public library in America. Check us out. No pun intended. Library is a good place to not only use great resources, but to enrich yourself.